Have you ever felt that weird emptiness when a show you've loved for years just ends? Like someone pulled the plug on a family dinner you weren't ready to leave. Yeah, that's exactly how millions of Blue Bloods fans felt when CBS decided to pull the trigger. But what if I told you that wasn't really the end? What if the story of the Reagans didn't stop in New York but quietly moved north to Boston? Because, dear listener, Boston Blue isn't just a spin-off, it's a resurrection. A reboot disguised as something new. A story that's not finished whispering in our ears. And here's where things get spicy. The man at the heart of it, Donnie Reagan himself, didn't just walk away from the force or the family. He's chasing something deeper. Something that might rewrite what we thought we knew about duty, loss, and legacy. But wait, let's rewind. Remember that finale? The emotional dinner table, the unfinished stories, the feeling that we were being cheated out of more time with them. CBS called it a fresh lineup decision. Fans called it betrayal. Because when Blue Bloods ended, it wasn't because the show was dying, it was still winning the ratings war. So why kill a hit? Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't killed at all. Maybe it was transferred. Boston Blue picks up where the silence left off. And I'll be honest, when I first heard about it, I thought there's no way they can replace the Reagans. You can't just swap out Frank Reagan's moral speeches or Sunday dinners. That family was the soul of Blue Bloods. But here's the thing, Boston Blue doesn't even try to replace them. It mirrors them like a reflection that's slightly warped but hauntingly familiar. The first time I watched it, I noticed something odd. Danny's energy. It wasn't nostalgia, it was guilt. His move to Boston wasn't a career choice, it was a consequence. And the trigger, Sean's accident. The moment that incident is revealed, it all clicks. You realize Danny's not running towards something new, he's running away from old ghosts. Linda's death still lingers in every look he gives, every silence he holds. Blue Bloods was about family, but Boston Blue is about the cost of protecting family. Now, I know what you're thinking. But Jones, why Boston? Why not stay in New York where everything started? Because sometimes to keep your legacy alive, you've got to bury it first. Boston Blue gives Danny a second chance. But it's not a clean one. And the show doesn't shy away from that. The very first episode throws him into chaos. A case, a new city, and a family he doesn't understand yet. Enter the Silvers, Boston's answer to the Reagans. But are they really replacements or reflections of what Danny lost? Lena Silver? That name's gonna stick in your head. She's the kind of partner who doesn't flinch when she's wrong or apologize when she's right. She's sharp, intuitive, and just a little bit reckless. Sound familiar? Yeah, she's Baez with a Boston twist. But the connection between her and Danny isn't just professional. It's personal. You feel it from the moment they lock eyes. It's not romance, not yet. It's recognition. Two broken people pretending they're whole. And speaking of recognition, the Silvers aren't a carbon copy of the Reagans. They're something darker, more conflicted. Their Sunday dinners feel colder, their loyalty more fragile. They're tied together by duty, not blood warmth. You can tell that this family, unlike the Reagans, is still figuring out what it means to stand for something. But here's the part that gave me chills. There's a moment in episode 1 where Lena says, "Family's not who you're born with, it's who shows up when you fall apart." And Danny just stares at her silent. Because for the first time since Linda's death, someone finally said what he couldn't. It's that kind of dialogue that hits deep. The kind that makes you realize this show isn't about replacing anyone. It's about what happens after you lose everything you were built around. And honestly, that's the secret power of Boston Blue. It doesn't beg you to love it. It dares you to move on just like Danny had to. Now, before I spill the next layer of this story, if you're one of those people who still believes Blue Bloods deserved better less, and let's be real, you are if you're still here, then this is the moment to hit that subscribe button. Because I'm going to dig deeper into how Boston Blue might secretly be the network's redemption move, a hidden apology wrapped in nostalgia. Alright, let's talk secrets. Here's something most people missed. Boston Blue doesn't just honor the Reagans, it rewrites their legacy through subtle callbacks. There's the phone call with Frank, short, emotional, symbolic. The way Danny avoids saying, "Dad," right away. It's intentional. It's the show saying, "He's still your anchor, but you're adrift now." Then there's Erin's cameo, and man, that hit hard. Her conversation with Danny isn't just sibling talk, it's a mirror. She's the voice of his guilt. When she tells him, "You can't protect everyone," Danny, he doesn't respond, because deep down, he knows she's not talking about Sean, she's talking about Linda. And you know what that means? Boston Blue isn't just about crime solving. It's about Danny's slow descent into accepting loss. And maybe finding redemption in a city that doesn't know his name yet. The real twist, the Silvers may not be as clean cut as the Reagans. Their pasts are messy. Their unity feels forced. It's like the show is asking, what if the perfect family image from Blue Bloods was just that? An image. What if the truth behind family loyalty is more fragile, more selfish than we ever admitted? Think about it. Blue Bloods painted on her in shades of blue and gold. Boston Blue stains it with gray. And I love that, because life's not black and white, it's Boston gray. Now here's my theory, and I'm gonna need you to really think about this one. What if Danny's not supposed to find a new family, but expose what happens when family becomes a facade? What if the Silvers' biggest secret? And yeah, there's definitely one coming, is what ties Danny's fate to Boston for good. If that's true, this isn't just a spin-off. It's a reckoning, because you can't rebuild the House of Blue Bloods without first tearing down its walls. You ever notice how every city carries its own rhythm? New York moves like a heartbeat, fast, constant, unrelenting. But Boston breathes like an old secret. It hides things, and if you listen closely in Boston Blue, you can hear those secrets whispering underneath every line of dialogue. Danny's move isn't just geographical, it's symbolic. He's gone from the city that never sleeps to the city that never forgives. And the show makes sure we feel that. The streets are colder, the case is heavier, and the silence is longer. It's like Boston itself is testing him, asking, "You think you can handle starting over, Reagan?" But let's get real for a second. Starting over? That's easy to say when you're not the guy who's buried a wife, watched his family drift apart, and now has to explain to his son why home keeps changing zip codes. Danny's trying to rebuild a sense of purpose, but you can tell, every time he puts on that badge, part of him wonders if he's just trying to fill an empty chair at Sunday dinner. And that's what makes Boston Blue so addictive. It's not the cases, it's the emotional detective work. We're not watching him chase criminals, we're watching him chase closure. Now let's talk about Lena Silver, because oh boy, if you think she's just another partner of the weak character, think again. Lena's hiding something. Her calm isn't peace, it's protection. She's not just sharp, she's guarded. There's a moment in episode 2, blink and you'll miss it, where Danny asks her about her father, and she changes the subject so fast it's almost suspicious. You ever get that gut feeling that a character knows more than they're letting on? Yeah, that's Lena. And here's my theory, she's connected to the same network that forced Danny out of New York. Because think about it, what are the odds that after decades in NYPD, he suddenly relocates and lands in a department where his new partner's family is already embedded in law enforcement? Coincidence or design? CBS might call it fiction, but that setup smells like conspiracy. You know what else caught me off guard? The Silvers' a family dynamic. They look united on paper, but if you watch closely, every conversation feels like a chess game. Their smiles are rehearsed, their unity conditional. It's as if the writers are deliberately contrasting the open warmth of the Reagans with the political frost of the Silvers. And this is where I started connecting dots. Remember Frank Reagan's whole chain of command with heart, philosophy. The Silvers don't believe in that. They run on results, not righteousness, which raises a haunting question: did Blue Bloods end? Because it showed too much morality for modern television. Now that's a question worth losing sleep over. Let's do a quick poll. If you had to choose, who'd you rather sit with at Sunday dinner? The Reagans with their moral lectures and roast beef, or the Silvers quietly judging each other over salad and secrets? Drop your pick in the comments, because I'm honestly torn. See, the magic of Boston Blue isn't that it copies its predecessor. It challenges it. It's not asking us to replace the Reagans, it's asking us to question them. What if the Reagans' moral code wasn't the answer? What if it blinded them to the corruption creeping just beneath their feet? The kind that maybe forced Danny's hand to leave the NYPD. And now, for the real forbidden thought, the one fans aren't supposed to say out loud. What if Frank Reagan himself knew something about Linda's death that he never told Danny? I know, wild theory, right? But hear me out. Boston Blue keeps dropping breadcrumbs. There's that line in the pilot when Danny's on the phone with Frank and says, "I wish you'd told me sooner." What was that about? They never explain it. And that's the thing with this show, it hides its truth in emotional throwaways. Maybe the new series isn't just about Boston's cases. Maybe it's a quiet investigation into what really tore the Reagans apart. And that's why this spin-off hits differently. It's not just nostalgia, it's an autopsy of it. But hold on, let's lighten this a bit before we all spiral into conspiracy boards. Because if we're being honest, Danny Reagan in Boston is like your uncle who said he was retiring quietly, and then bought a Harley and started a podcast. The man cannot stay out of trouble. Every case he touches turns personal. Every ally becomes a reflection of something he's lost. And you've got to love that self-awareness. There's even a moment where Lena teases him, "Do all New York cops carry emotional baggage as evidence?" Danny laughs it off. But you can see it, that flicker of pain behind his smirk. That's classic Donnie Wahlberg right there. Acting so subtle it hurts. Let's also appreciate how meta this is. Donnie's literally helping build a new world inside a story he helped end. It's almost poetic, like the actor and character both refusing to move on. And honestly, that's what makes Boston Blue work. It's not a new story, it's unfinished business. And if you've followed my channel for a while, You know how I feel about unfinished business. It never stays buried. Here's what I think's coming next. My bold prediction for this series: by mid-season, the show's going to reveal that the Silvers family tragedy ties directly to a case Danny handled years ago in New York, maybe even one connected to Linda's death. The Boston part might not just be a setting, it could be the missing puzzle piece the Reagans never found. And when that truth drops, oh, the internet's going to explode. But before we get there, let's talk emotions. Because Boston Blue doesn't just feed our curiosity, it preys on our nostalgia. You ever catch yourself smiling when Danny mentions the old days? That's not coincidence, that's deliberate fan service done right. They're giving us just enough warmth to keep the ghost of Blue Bloods alive. It's emotional manipulation, and I love every second of it. But what about you? Do you think the Reagans should make a full return later in the season? Should Frank walk into Boston PD for one last showdown with his son? Or should Danny finally close that chapter and build something new with the Silvers? Let me know below, because this debate is far from over. And you know what's crazy? CBS might have accidentally created something more powerful than the original. Because now every fan isn't just watching, they're investigating, they're theorizing, they're emotionally invested in both families. That's the kind of engagement no reboot ever gets right. Until now. In a way, Boston Blue is the mirror of us, the audience who couldn't let go. It's a story about holding on to what was while pretending to move forward. And if that doesn't hit you right in the feels, I don't know what will. Now, to all my fellow detectives, drama addicts, and emotional masochists out there, let me leave you with this thought. What if Boston Blue isn't about Danny finding a new family, but about him realizing that family was never meant to stay the same? That sometimes the only way to honor your past is to outgrow it. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real blue in Boston Blue. So as the credits roll and that quiet theme hums in your head, don't think of it as goodbye to the Reagans. Think of it as passing the badge from one generation of believers to the next. Because family doesn't die when a show ends, it just changes its zip code. And who knows, maybe next Sunday, when you're missing that old Blue Bloods dinner table, you'll look at Boston Blue and realize you never actually left. I'm Jones, and this was your breakdown episode. Now go ahead, tell me your theories in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and remember, not all secrets stay buried.